Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Been slacking this week on my videos. Been putting them out, but just not recording, forgetting to record before I get started. Okay, so today I'm gonna go through and going to stick my big bore kit back on my Z. I had a piston come apart last year or whatever. I had a 177cc kit on it. And I had I got it right here beside me. They got these little cheap China pistons that you yank the wrist pin out of it. I think it's too many RPMs, but we'll see. But like I said, I also noticed my cam had a bad bearing on it. So I bought all the shit to replace all this, all the stuff. So figured I'd go ahead and start you a video and show you how to do it. So if you have a cam cover here with 4 bolts, you pull the 4 bolts out of it, that accesses the cover. You got 2 that accesses the valve lash, which you don't need, but I mean, you don't have to pull this off. I had to pull it off to put the covers on my other engine. You got 2 bolts under here on the exhaust. You pull your 2 bolts out down here. Let your exhaust come down. You pull your 2 bolts out of your intake, let it fall back, unplug your temperature sensor. I went ahead and unplugged the injector. And I unplugged the TPS. Right, see the 2 bolts up in there? There's 2 bolts here. I've done pulled my timing chain loose too. I was gonna show y'all. Well, let's see if I can get it loose one-handed. Okay, good. Your timing belt on a Kawasaki, if you look right there, see that side has a line, you got 2 lines here. Basically, if you look in here, you have a 17 millimeter. You pull this bolt out right here, and you'll see there'll be a mark in here that says T. Well, when T is on T for the crankshaft, meaning top dead center, you'll take these bolts right here. These will be straight up and down, and that line will be right there. You see a little tit right on the end. It lines up with that line. That's how you know it's in top dead center. Like I said, you take your top bolt out of your tensioner so you can loosen it up. Take 2 bolts out of it, your 2 bolts here. Pull your cam cover, pull your exhaust. So now let me go ahead and spin all these nuts off. I'm gonna pull the 2 bolts out of here and spin all my nuts off my head here. I got 4 nuts here. You also have 1 oil line that hooks up here and a bolt underneath that holds it on to get the cylinder head off of it. So let me get this yanked off real quick and I'll turn around and I'll start back recording and show you all. Pull all that loose and you can go through and you can get this thing off without too much work. Oop, I just dropped my little washer. Washer for 1 head bolt. That's not the only one they send. That's for the one that's closest to the oil jacket. It's a little metal ring. But you got, like I said, you pull it all the way up here to the front and you can get it out like that. All right, well, I got it tore down. I got to pull my pin out, my wrist pin. But see how much meat is right here? I'll show you this compared to the other one. This rod took a beating when it blowed up. You can look at it. I was really not even wanting to mess up. You can see where I had to bore the case. I took a porting bit and just bored it out. It ain't nothing pretty, but tension, you got to pull it out of this head, but you got to make sure when you put the other head on it that you put it in here. Otherwise, you won't get it past the starter. Your timing chain, you just leave it up in there, the rail, and just lay the timing chain here. Let me pull this clip, and then I'll pull this piston out, pull the wrist pin out of it, and then we'll be ready to stick the other stuff in it. So let me get this pulled loose real quick. Here's the TV piston, and this is what I don't like about it. Look right here around this wrist pin. It's kind of crappy, but I talked to Wasco. They only do sets of 12 pistons. I talked to JE, which is their sister company. They do sets of 4 pistons, but they're $200 a piece. So I'd have $800 in just 1 piston for my build. And every other company I talked to, none of them do the 64 millimeters, and that's the problem. Is it's a 64 millimeter piston versus a 59. Don't nobody sell nothing forged for it, because I was gonna have them build me something with this solid across it, like the factory stuff, so that way it would withstand it. Because they say the problem is this little 13 millimeter wrist pin here. They say underneath the high RPMs, it'll flex and break the bottom out of the piston, is what I've been told. Like I said, here's the high compression piston. This bike has the stroker crank and rod. It has the large throttle body. You can see the difference in it. Like I said, you can see where that thing took a beating right there, where that piston come apart in it. But I guess it's somewhat straight. I hope it's straight. It might be a little bent. Kind of looks a little bent. I don't know. Hopefully it don't blow up on me this year. I stood it up on its nose and washed everything out of it. So While I'm here, I figured I'd go ahead and show y'all how to set ring gaps. So basically set your ring in here. You come down, you push it till it's level. And you take a filler gauge and you come in here and you shove in that gap. And you see what it is. That's at 6 thousandths. It calls for 8 to 10. They say you want 8 on the top, 10 on the second one, but for my years of racing and stuff like that, I might loosen them up a little bit more than that. Like I say, because you'll never get by. I mean, hell, that small of a gap, you'll never really have an issue. A little bit more ring gap, you ain't gonna hurt nothing out of it. So let me check this ring gap here, and I'll get back with you in a second. Guys, well, I got the rings on. I want to show y'all something. The main thing you want to do is make sure your rings are not in line when you're doing this. When you put your oil ring on and all that stuff, make sure you got you some distance in between each of them, because these rings will spin around in that cylinder. When the motor's running, these rings are lapping. They're making laps around that piston. And the main thing you want to do is make sure that they're not lined up, because you don't want just air blowing through both of them. So got my rings gap, got my base plate gasket. I'll put it on here, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stick it on the bike first. I'll go ahead and get it up on here. You can leave this out and it give you a little bit more compression, but you got to silicone your case to make it seal up or whatever. So stick your gasket down here. I gotta stick my dowel on it over there. I got a couple dowels I gotta stick in it. Like I said, I've already got my. All right, well, got my gasket on, got my dowel in it. I gotta take my jug. I'm gonna slide it up on here. And like I said, make sure you lift your rod up right here. I'll show you how to do this. So, see, now I got it from here from the side. I take my rod, I lift my rod up. See the T? It's not quite all the way dead center of the hole. Let's spin it backwards. And right there. And see right here, see this head don't have it on it, but it's right there. This also don't have all the cam relief stuff on it, but see my bolts ain't lining up. So what I'm gonna do now, even though I know I got the chain on here because I got the tension on this side and this line straight. All right, now that I got my timing set, see this right here, you stick your flathead screwdriver. I got a little bit right here I'm using, but you'll spin this thing clockwise to take all the tension off of it, to slide it all the way down. Once you get it pulled down like that, you grab your 2 bolts. You drop your 2 bolts right here in it. Those are the wrong ones. It's this one right here. You spin them in. I like to get both sides started before I tighten one of them all the way up. So get them like that. And then you can turn around and start tightening it up like that. Boom, there. I know you can't probably see me because of the angle I'm at with my camera. The best I could get it for right now. Let me get these bolts tight, I'll show you something. So what I do when I get it here, I always go through, take this, spin it backwards until you feel the tension pull out of it. Spin your motor counterclockwise. Boom. You don't want to put too much tension on it. You want to put its own. You want to pull its own amount of tension, and it'll do that when it runs. But I just like to take a little bit out. Like I said, I don't want it tight. I just want it when I drop my socket in here. Let me see. There we go. It just kicked itself out. So now it's kicked itself out all the way. I can put my tools up on it. I can go on and start checking. I'm gonna make sure my timing's right on. I'm gonna finish putting all my covers on. I'll be back with you. All right, guys, well, got all the covers back on, put the exhaust on it, all that, got everything bolted up. Only thing I don't have bolted up is the intake. I gotta flip it out here to the side. I gotta change this intake out because the flange is different on it. So let me go ahead and change this intake out, this manifold out right here. I'll pull the 2 bolts out of it and go ahead and bolt the other intake up. That's the right direction, and put the injector onto this one. And I'll be ready to charge the battery up and fire it up. So I had to jump it off to ride it down here today because I ain't touched it all winter. So I'll be back with you shortly. This is the factory intake. I've done some porting on it on the back side. You can see where I ported it. This is the new one. It's already been ported for that big throttle body. You can see even though I've ported that one, you can see how much bigger the port is on it. So I'm gonna go through and I got bolted up on the back of it. I'll be ready to fire it. What's running? I'm trying to get my phone connected to my A-Racer ECU. I can't get it connected right yet, so I can adjust the settings on it, but it's running.